Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. As you can see, I'm doing more of a talking head video today, but that's just because I've got a few things that I need to prep for CES next week, and I figured that this would be a good video to do it. With that said, that doesn't mean that today's story isn't important. In fact, it's huge because Intel's entire 10th gen lineup has been leaked. Anyway, let's get to the story, which today was originally published by Informatica Cero, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and as you can see, they actually published all of the details of Intel's 10th gen lineup. Now, not only that, but Video Cards actually picked it up, and it does seem as though they had some other slides that Informatica Cero didn't have, but unfortunately they were told at the last second that they aren't allowed to share them. Either way, this is Video Cards, and if they're saying that this is true, then it's almost definitely true. Either way, let's get started. First up, I will go ahead and say before we go through each and every one of these that, as you can see, it doesn't really look all that good. It's a pretty low resolution image of it, but either way, it's definitely an important one, and it does give us pretty much all the information that we need. Now, starting things off, we've got the i9 10900K. Obviously, this is the successor to the 9900K, but unlike last time, this is in fact a 10-core, 20-thread CPU. Not only that, but it also has up to 40 PCI Express 3.0 lanes, which I went over not too long ago in a story, I believe was right here. Yep, WCCF Tech exclusive, where they actually kind of had an overview of the Comet Lake S platform, and it did say up to 40 PCI Express 3.0 lanes. So apparently that was correct. Now, moving back, like I said before, the base frequency of 3.7 gigahertz, but the turbo boost, 2.0, I think this is just called regular turbo boost. It will single core up to 5.1 gigahertz, and then it'll actually go up to 5.2 gigahertz with their max. It's the Max Turbo 3.0, but apparently they've actually got a new thing this time, and it's called the Intel Thermal Velocity Boost technology. And with this, which is probably just an automated thing, just like all the rest. I don't know why they have to keep coming up with some crazy name for each and every one. It's just a way of overclocking it, just like you would if you manually overclock the CPU. Either way, it has an all-core turbo boost of 4.9 gigahertz, which is seriously impressive because don't forget, this is a 10-core processor. This isn't like the 9900KS that was able to get to 5 gigahertz boost on all cores on 8 cores. This is a 10-core processor. Not only that, but it gets a single core boost up to 5.3 gigahertz. This is seriously impressive. I mean, don't forget, this is still Intel's 14 nanometer process, and yet we're looking at 10 core, 20 threads up to 4.9 all gigahertz, or 4.9 all cores, 4.9 gigahertz on all cores, or 5.3 gigahertz on a single core. That's pretty impressive. Then we can see here that the TDP is 125 watts, but as usual, that's typically only for the base clock. And what they do is, if you notice, for each generation of the 14 nanometers, they end up lowering the base frequency while upping cores. And that's how they're really just able to stay at the same TDP a lot of times. Next, you can see that it has dual channel up to 2933, which is pretty good. Of course, you can overclock further than that, depending on what kind of RAM you have and things like that. Then it does have the UHD 630, not all that impressive. Of course, nothing like, say, AMD's APUs or anything like that. But of course, you're going to have a discrete GPU anyway, so it's not that big of a deal regardless. As far as pricing, unfortunately, we don't really have anything right now, but that's where everything I think is really going to come down to, especially when you compare it to Ryzen 3000 series, just how well this is priced, because don't forget, AMD still has better IPC. I mean, very good IPC at much lower clocks. They're right up there still, and yet theirs gets up to 12 cores and it's priced pretty well. Actually, it gets up to 16 cores and priced really well. Next, we have the 10700K, so this is the i7, and what's interesting, you'll notice this is an 8-core, 16-thread CPU, which basically all the early rumors and leaks that suggested Intel is basically getting rid of not having SMT were true. If we go through every single one of these, all of them have simultaneous multi-threading or hyper-threading, which is what Intel calls their version of it basically. We can go down here to all of these. Every single processor has SMT. Great news, awesome. Intel only ever held those back just to arbitrarily differentiate their different processors. Anyway, moving back, so we have the 10700K. This one gets up to 5.1 gigahertz, and you'll notice that this does not have that Intel thermal velocity boost thing. So this gets up to 5.1 gigahertz, but luckily the all-core turbo boost is still at 4.7. Really impressive stuff here. Once again, this is an 8-core 16-thread processor, all-core boost of 4.7. It also has a TDP of 125 watts, although at the same time, you can see it does have a higher base frequency. And we see the same thing whenever we move to the i5. It has 300 megahertz higher and is at the same 125 watts. Anyway, moving on, we now have the i5 10600K. This is also, like I said, 125 watt TDP, but this is a 6-core 12-thread CPU, and it has a base frequency of 4.1, and then the single core boost. Now, you'll notice that this one doesn't have the Turbo Boost 3.0, so it only gets up to 4.3 gigahertz, I do believe. You know what? I looked, it actually should be 4.8 gigahertz. Of course, these are the K models, so they're the overclockable ones, so hopefully you're going to be getting up quite a bit higher than that anyway. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention, this is actually a brand new socket, the socket 1200, replacing Intel's LGA 1151. So you're pretty much, not even pretty much, you are going to have to get a new motherboard if you want to get any of these processors. Anyway, moving on to the 65 watt non-K variants. First up, we have the 10900. This is the non-K one. And as you can see, it gets about 100 megahertz slower pretty much across the board, except for the base frequency, which explains why it's 65 watts. You can see the base frequency is 2.8 gigahertz versus 3.7. Pretty deceptive if you ask me, but from what we've seen in the past, this should be how it's done. Anyway, you can see the first turbo boost goes up to 5 gigahertz, still very impressive. This is a single core overclock, then 5.1 with the boost 3.0. Then we have 5.2 or 4.6 all core boost with their velocity boost technology. Moving on, we have the 10700 base frequency of 2.9. Then we have 4.7. And unfortunately, this one, I'm a little bit confused on. Let me see. We can actually look here. Luckily, Video Cards does have it kind of broken down where it's a lot easier to read. So let's see. The 10600. So it should not have a Turbo Boost 3.0, even though it does seem to show that it does up to 4 point something. I'm not really sure why that's there. Either way, let's see. Then we have the all-core boost of 4.6. Moving on, we have the 10600. And once again, these are all non-K variants. So I'm not seeing any i3s with Ks. I mean, you can see that it even has the 10320. Even that isn't a K model. Anyway, you can see that these are about what you would expect. This is very much an iterative update, which is kind of disappointing considering we're looking at a brand new socket across the board. Now, I fully understand why they need a new socket for a 10-core, 20-thread CPU. I mean, this thing is seriously impressive, but at the same time, why do all the others need a new socket? I don't know. But anyway, hopefully you did like this. Let me know what you thought about this today. What are your favorite processors? Are you going to be picking one of these up? Does it matter to you that current owners are going to need a new board? Let me know all this stuff down in the comments below. I should have another video Monday. If not Monday, hopefully I'll actually have one tomorrow. Either way, thanks so much for coming. Have a great day.